Everyone, welcome to this month's Aiwyn Sessions. Today's topic, the AI future of tax. This is going to be really exciting. And I expect we're going to have as many questions, new ideas as we're going to have answers and demos. And you're going to see some cool stuff today. So this should be a really great kind of tip of the spear forum. And we will get to agenda in a second. First, some intros, or for many of you, re-intros. Again, I'm Pat Morrell, one of the co-founders and GM here at Aiwyn, as Tanner mentioned. He is also a co-founder and a GM. And in terms of y'all, our ever-growing audience, as we do more and more of these monthly sessions, I'm seeing in the attendee list some CEOs of our private equity-backed platform companies, firms, welcome. CIOs, finance leaders of top 20, top 50, top 100, 200 firms. We have some friends from the Big Four here today, welcome. Founders of some of our integration and partner companies, and some newcomers. We talk a lot about the Aiwyn customer community is growing. We always want both customers and prospective customers to come join us for these sessions. So welcome to the newcomers. And again, on behalf of Tanner and me, we're still in kind of the dust settling post-tax day. Thank you for joining us, spending your time with us as we kind of kick off here today. Welcome.
Good deal. So for an agenda today, we are going to go around the horn as we always do, give you some updates from our different product groups, payments, experience, tax, and practice. We'll be joined by Trent and Malcolm on our product teams to do a deep dive on tax and all things tax from an Aiwyn perspective. And then we'll open it up for Q&A, just like we always do. We really would encourage you to put your questions in the chat. We want to make this interactive and make this valuable for everybody. But as we always do, we like to start these meetings with a quick reminder of who Aiwyn is and what we believe. So this is our belief statement, and I will read it. We believe that entrepreneurs and markets are powerful forces for good, and professional accountants play the indispensable roles of guide and guardian, allowing these forces to contribute optimal value to society. Something we hold true, and because of that, it's why we believe here at Aiwyn that our mission is to be a trusted technology partner to the profession for the next century. With that,
so we got mission. Yeah, we've got belief, mission. How do we action that? We focus on three key things: innovation, consolidation, and trust. If you work with us, you've heard this many times. Innovation, new pragmatic solutions; consolidation, how can we bring new with old and support a coherent open ecosystem; and trust. The last one being key. We talk about this a lot. Trust comes from collaboration. There are now over 900 firms in the Aiwyn customer community, and everything you'll see today, what we're going to talk about, all the cool stuff that Malcolm and Trent are going to show you, really everything in our full suite of solutions across payments, experience, practice, and tax. We've built it with you all. Built it alongside the practitioners, the service line leaders, the executive leaders, the finance leaders of top firms. So the program today, we're going to do a quick around the horn with updates on each of these categories: payments, experience, and practice. And then we're going to go very deep into the wonderful and very fast changing world of tax.
Yep. So starting in the upper left on Aiwyn Payments, this is the solution set that's used to accelerate cash flow, the work to cash cycle. A couple of quick highlights. So theme of transparency was one that a lot of you asked for. You wanted more insight into communications with clients. So the big item here I wanted to highlight is the email delivery hub that's rolling out May 1st. It'll have all emails and the statuses, the activity of those emails, starting with payments and then actually including all engagement emails as well if you're using this for engagement letters. Be on the lookout for that next week. That'll be going live. We also have enhancements to the collection side of the house. We talked about some of these were coming soon last session. Now they're coming and they'll be here next week. Lastly, we have some new integrations. So we're always integrating, and the updated ones here, we have a practice ERP integration live. We've decided to also do writing back and reconciling payments back into practice CS. That is live. If you're on one of those platforms and you want more information, please reach out. On the Aiwyn experience side, this is everything interacting from a unified client portal perspective. The updates here to talk about, the big one is that we just came off the tax season, and engagement letters in particular, we saw a dramatic uptick in prepayments. And so if you were one of the firms who is now collecting prepayments, that's been the big shift this last season, and we continue to see this as a big one. The big functionality enhancement that we had was all around reassignment and the contract reassignment. We saw that there's a huge trend in user interaction with the need to say, hey, it's not supposed to be for me. I can't sign this. Let's reassign this to someone else. So we just did a bunch of work on that last month. That is now going GA next week.
All right, continuing around the horn, let's take a look at practice. Again, Aiwyn Practice is our modern end-to-end practice management system of record. This is the alternative we've built out to some of the legacy incumbent PM systems and some of the, maybe even some of the new practice management systems that are really only geared for one service line in a firm. Aiwyn Practice is meant to transcend the needs of an entire diverse firm. And it's gaining steam really quickly. A lot of positive feedback since we launched this again in Q4, went live with our first wave of firms, and we're already doing V2 releases across a range of solutions and capabilities. Reporting and Analytics version 2 is out and live, generally available. And access management tools. As we put this out into the world, obviously we saw opportunities to give firms greater controls over who sees what, who does what. So you have some role-based permissions under access management. The thing that I'm most excited about is the realization of kind of the ROI projections we have been making. We saw Aiwyn Practice as an asset that can help firms get bills out the door faster and help them kind of capture greater revenues, help them strengthen their cash flow even beyond what we're doing with payments. And as a realization of both of those things, save partners, save professionals a ton of time. And we are seeing the quantitative, I think, measures of that. We are seeing firms on Aiwyn Practice measurably increase utilization. And anybody who, obviously, we all operate in the accounting space, even a point or two here or there has a dramatic impact on bottom line. And we are really excited to see Aiwyn Practice be the kind of thing that is quite literally paying for itself multiple times over again. At the same time, billing velocity is up. We are seeing firms get bills out the door much faster, sometimes weeks faster than life before Aiwyn. I look at billing velocity, how quickly do you get something from WIP entered to invoice sent, as a measure of the intuitiveness, the ease of use of the system. And this is a great indicator that hopefully we're making life easier for partners, for billers, for everybody at the firm as it relates to how they're managing their practice. So that's a spotlight on Aiwyn Practice. A lot more firms going live as we get into the post-tax day season. Spring is going to be, I think, a very exciting time for us. All right. That wraps up the Around the Horn portion of the program. We are going to dive deep, as I mentioned, into tax. And as we think about tax, the way we think about tax at Aiwyn is really across two layers. There's what we would call the workflow layer and the engine layer. Workflow being exactly what it sounds like. It's the experiential component, both for the firm and the clients, how the work gets done, how information is passed back and forth. And then, of course, the key piece, the engine layer. You all know we've been building something really compelling here, and I'm going to give Trent the floor in just a moment to share an update on the engine. We're going to talk about it in actually multiple phases. But first, let's talk about workflow. And this dovetails nicely to some of what you heard Tanner talk about with the unified client portal. In a moment, I'm going to hand the screen over to our good friend Malcolm, who's going to walk us through a short video demo of the elements of the unified client portal that speak specifically to workflow needs around tax. Obviously, we've built this to be something that supports a firm in its entirety. Specific focus on some tax use cases. Case in point, we have some tax-specific integrations that we're leveraging. And again, as we've said time and time again, this is for firms, big firms with a diverse client set, small firms with maybe some simple 1040 work. Wherever you are on that spectrum, Aiwyn Tax is offering something valuable to you. So, Malcolm, I'm going to stop sharing. I know you're going to share,
Yep.
and I will give you the floor so that you can show us what's going on in the tax elements of the unified client portal. Floor is yours.
Perfect. I'm going to jump right in then. I'm excited to be here, Pat. Appreciate the kind intro. So one of the things, just to kind of set the stage, I know a lot of you were here in the sessions webinar this last month, and we went through the full end-to-end perspective of how things work across different teams and different service lines. I want to make sure that we set the stage there a little bit, and then we'll deep dive into tax. So we've been collaborating really heavily with top 100 firms, specifically with them. And as we've built out a solution, one of the things, the main pain points is that clients are having to go into all kinds of different firm portals. Every single team at the firm is interacting in a different way. So there's different third-party tools, different service line specific things. So from a client's perspective, this all creates a lot of complexity, a lot of different touch points, and a lot of different areas where there's really no clear place where they have the ability to understand exactly what you all need them to do. So you'll notice that things have changed a little bit since we last talked. So we've been hard at work building out a brand new client experience. And this essentially gets us to a place where we have a really clean core experience that drives the ability for clients to understand exactly what you need. So we've built this in a way too that it supports all of the most complicated tax scenarios. So we wanted to make sure that we were handling this in a way. If you're familiar with a lot of other systems, when somebody comes to a list like this, so just hopefully y'all can see my screen, but this is a task list essentially representing everything that you would need from a client, from the client would need from the firm. And you'll notice on the left-hand side, everything across all of the different entities that they're associated with shows up in this one view. So they're not having to jump between different views. They're not having to jump between different portals or handle all the kinds of different emails going through. Everything shows up here. So in this case, I'm somebody who has maybe 20, 50 different entities associated with my account. I can see them all clearly right here, and everything's organized really nicely. So that's one step in making sure that we have the ability to handle those complex scenarios. The other part of it too is that something that's really unique to the way we handle things, and it's an integration we're really excited to be rolling out with them, is our safe send returns integration. So you notice in this list, there's not just uh, Aiwyn specific request lists in this list. There are also external tools that we're pulling into this list and deeply integrated with as well. So we're both displaying these to the client as something that they need to complete. And we're also showing that on the firm side. So there's a clear picture across the board of everything that's open for the client, for clients that are out in the system that need work to be done for us to unblock and continue on with the projects. So you'll notice that this specifically has a SafeSend return. Our deep integration with SafeSend allows these to pull in automatically. So as soon as you send off a SafeSend return to the client, that shows up specifically to the client in their portal, and they receive a notification from Aiwyn with that SafeSend link as it goes out. When they click into this, it takes them to that normal SafeSend view that you all are familiar with, where they type in their social security number, they go through all of the information, complete the return, and then we receive all the information back. So we're deeply integrated to the different statuses and updates that happen on the SafeSend side. So we're really excited to be rolling this integration out. Again, this creates that unified experience where clients aren't having to juggle lots of different areas in the system. We also want to make note too that there is a level of security that goes along with this type of an integration. As we continue to roll things out, clients are receiving notifications from very consistent sources. So it's really important for us in this day and age where lots of different emails are coming out. Clients are questioning whether an email came from the firm or whether it was really something they should do. All of that starts to get more clear when there's a consistent source of communication coming for each of these integrations. So very important details as we continue to roll this out. We're excited to have this done. I also want to call out too. So we are from a tax, let's dive a little bit more into the tax specific side of things. So I have a tax return here. Let me open that up. The way that we've laid this out gives a complex client the ability to really dial things in. Not only is there a individual sections here with lots of different complex information, but each one of these sections has the ability, both on the firm side and the client side, to be assigned out to specific people. And I'll call out that each of these items ends up getting distributed to all of those people individually. And then there's also roles on the client side where somebody at a higher level can manage the overarching request as a whole. So we wanted to give it a clear ability to be able to see everything that's going on. Obviously, we're way past filing deadlines for 2026, so everything in this list is showing up as overdue. But y'all get the idea. But in this case, we wanted to make sure that there's deep collaboration that's going on between the firm and the client actions that are happening. So as things are happening, they're able to upload documents. You're able to comment back and forth going through things. And then you have the ability also to request changes and collaborate at a very deep level down to the specific item and document in the system, where the client is then seeing a notification, hey, there's something wrong with what you posted in the system. We need you to upload a new version. They're able to come in here and actually do that upload right here and preventing a lot of different back and forth. I will say too, as we put in the context of AI, this process becomes the front end that feeds a lot of the AI processes that go on in the background. So as clients come in here, upload files, we're organizing them in a way that makes it so that the client is able to drop things off, and we can do our best using AI and the content in there to match them up to the different items within the list.
Malcolm,
But yeah,
let me interject real quick. We got some great questions coming in on the chat, which I'm
sure.
excited to see. Thank you, Moshi, for sending some in already. A handful of you have. One of the first questions is around wondering how integrated is this interface from the client portal, the unified client portal perspective, into workflow and engagements and timesheets. And Pat, I know you're on the practice side, but Malcolm, maybe if you can talk a little bit about the integration we have with things like timesheets or engagements.
Yep. So yeah, as we build out the client experience, our goal is to make this the unified client portal with the ability to show. So if engagements if I had license engagement, those would also be pulling into the same client portal, a repository for all the documents. They can come in here and make payments associated with everything. So everything is tied directly into the same exact experience. And there's not multiple different logins that they have to use to go pay something versus go sign an engagement letter. That is the vision of the unified client portal all together in one
Of it. Yep.
experience.
Yep. And I think, specific to integrating with third-party systems, another question
Yep.
came in around that, wondering if there's functionality to show deadlines for the clients to know when they have things that are due. And then, why don't you speak to that in terms of, due dates and things like that?
Yep. So every single one of these items has a due date on it, and due dates are really important in the system in the sense that we have automated reminders kicking off. All of those integrations that we do, safe send returns as an example, we pull in due dates based on that same context that comes from the safe send side of things. So as those deliverables come through, all the due dates come in, and clients are constantly getting those reminders at a consistent pace so that they have the ability to come in and complete it without having to have people at the firm going and following up with them manually and all that fun stuff that I know you all have a good time doing. So
Fantastic. Um, the next set of questions, I keep them coming. I'm going to hold some of those are relevant for the next section of the demo. But Malcolm, anything else you wanted to highlight on the client portal?
the last thing that I'll highlight is just deliverables. So in the system on the firm side of things, a lot of the value that comes from deliverables essentially means that all of the different teams and service lines in the system or at the firm can come into the Aiwyn firm portal, add deliverables for each of their clients, and they're no longer coming from lots of different sources. And those also flow through into this high level unified list as something that they can acknowledge and continue on. And then they'll have that as a record document that they can keep in the system and access at any point in time. So deliverables is a huge deal as well. I just wanted to call that out. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to show. We're really excited to be continuing to partner with you all, especially as we continue to build out more integrations. So we are constantly talking with firms about new integrations that we're building out, and love to partner on those details. So anyone on this call, if you're interested in learning more and interested in some of those other integrations that we're working on, love to chat.
Malcolm, that was awesome. Thank you. And what I presume for a lot of folks is coming through, hopefully, is some sense of kind of thematic problem solving continuity. And as I share my screen, I'll kind of put what we're doing with tax in context related to payments. Many of you all know we started focusing related to payments AR all around kind of that drip campaign, those collections reminders. And we then kind of backed into kind of comprehensive, robust solution sets around that. Similarly with tax, so much of the friction that we hear from you all is around the chasing of documents. And I won't make us relive everything we just went through over the past kind of 4 months of busy season, but we wanted to tackle that with the workflow layer, that experiential smoothness. And at the same time, building kind of the more robust competency around another friction point, which is can we have a better, more powerful, robust tax engine to really expedite the really complex deterministic calculations, the doing of the tax work? And in a moment, I'm going to hand it to Trent, who is going to kind of walk us through what is going to be, I think, a multi-phase kind of journey. But first, some context. So, we just talked about workflow. Let's talk about the engine side. Um, a lot of you are here today, excitedly so. We love it because you saw the news about Aiwyn Tax and our collaboration with Anthropic, with Claude. We exposed our fast-growing, right now focused on 1040 tax engine into a Claude environment. And rightly, it's a lot of excitement and questions as to, holy cow, what's going on over there? So I'm going to put into the chat in just a moment a really fantastic blog from Justin Adams, our CEO, that goes deep on this, kind of why we did it, what this means, et cetera. We're going to show you what it looks like today. A little bit, though, not to read a blog to you today, the what and the why. So what is this? Why are we doing it? And what's been the response since we did it? And then Trent, I'll hand it to you. So what this is us exposing again our Aiwyn tax engine in a Claude environment. This is an expiration layer. If you've read the blog, if you've kind of talked to us about this, and many of you have, we're not telling you to go dump, 1,000 1040s into this thing with your client data. Not just yet. We'll talk about that in a moment. Why did we do this? I think it speaks to, admittedly, the founding days of Aiwyn. What we saw in 2020 when we started this company is that the accounting profession was needing more options for modern technology. And what we did with Aiwyn, as I just mentioned, we created things like payment solution, engagement letters that integrated with your incumbent systems. We have pushing 50 integrations now. Our mission has always been to meet you where you work now and in the future, and to kind of be the connective tissue between those new frontiers of work. You all are experiencing this the same way we are. AI is creating many new frontiers for work. I mean, many of you, I know because I've talked to you, you're using Copilot, you're using, Gemini, you're using Claude within the day-to-day of your firms. You're also using some really cool kind of AI native new entrants to the accounting tech space. And there are new kind of opportunities to engage with technology in novel ways. And for us, as we think about kind of our core roots, you all know this, Aiwyn, it means wise friend. We built this company really in many ways to help firms like yours be a steward, or to be a steward to you as you explore where new technologies help and don't help. So what we did in exposing our tax engine in Claude is, hey, a lot of people are flocking to Claude. We see an opportunity to meet kind of professionals where they are doing their work. And we wanted to help you kind of safely demystify and pragmatize what AI could or couldn't do. So it's been interesting. The response has been kind of twofold. A lot of folks heard us talk about this is phase one, we're moving to phase two. And some folks said, give us phase two right now. We want to be tip of the spear experimenters. Others said, hey, call me when that engine does more than just the simple 1040s, does everything. And in the meantime, let's talk about that client portal, et cetera. So we're seeing that adoption curve you would knowingly expect. What we're excited to do today is to ground all of this in, okay, what's the what? What is phase one? How are we thinking about phase two? And this will be an opportunity for you all to give us, I think, some feedback. And what's been, I think, really exciting for us is to recognize we're sitting at an inflection point of your interest in these technologies and the interest of the foundation labs in the accounting space. We didn't go to Anthropic, they came to us. And it was really exciting for us to say, hey, there's something happening in the accounting tech world. We can help rationalize it and make sense of it, not just for firms like yours, but for the foundation labs that want to serve this professional space. And we're not just working with the Anthropics right now. Enough preamble. Trent, I'm going to give you the floor. Any commentary as you then walk us through what phase one of Aiwyn Tax in the AI world is looking like?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Pat, for handing it off. I'm super excited to show you what our team's been cooking up here internally. So before we get started and actually show you what we're going to go through, I want to take a second here to describe what you're looking at. So this is just my Claude instance, and what I've done is I've just added the Aiwyn Tax connector. Basically, what the connector does is allow my Claude and Aiwyn's tax engine to interact together directly. So in the chat, all I have is I've got my 1099 int, I've got a W-2, and I'm just going to prompt Claude to please help me file my taxes. So let's go ahead and send a message. And you'll see immediately Claude is working with the Aiwyn connector to process these documents and pull out the relevant information from them. With that information, it's going to know there's a couple questions it needs to ask in order to correctly calculate my taxes. So it's going to ask me those questions. I'm just going to answer them. And now that it has all of this, it's going to take off and actually start calculating the return. So what's happening right now is Claude is actually working with Aiwyn's tax engine to calculate the return, and this engine has actually already filed over 1 million returns. So it's reliable, proven, and I think most importantly, it's deterministic. So it's not going to hallucinate or make any errors that you might expect, even from really advanced AI. Great. So you can see it's actually doing some validations. It's actually completed the calculations for the return right now, and it's generating a PDF, filling in all the informations from the calculations that it just did. So it's going to take a second to do that. And there it is. So you can see in the chat here, it's pulled out some information I might find relevant, the federal return amount, the state tax that's due. And I'll actually open up the PDF here and show you what it generated. And you can see it's actually filled out. It's actually filled out the entire return here. So this is actually live today. As you probably saw in the announcement, you can go into Claude today and add this connector and start experimenting with this yourself, and see what kind of we think the future direction of tax is going to look like.
Fantastic. And Trent, we're getting some great questions that are perfectly timed as we kind of tee up what we're doing with phase 2. And I'll hand it back to you.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm happy. Hopefully this will answer some of those questions that are coming in. And then, of course, we'll also directly take them on either throughout this or after in the Q&A section. But that demo you just saw, it's not some glimpse into the far future. This is the future that's arriving right now. And I think this AI native way of working, it's going to spread so much faster than most of us expect. I think even faster than I expected even 6 months ago. So I want to take a second to just talk about what is this future going to look like. So I want you to take a second. You just came off of your busy season. Maybe picture next busy season. A return comes in. Your AI tool is going to ingest the client's documents. It's going to pull out their information, and then it's going to work with Aiwyn's deterministic tax engine to prepare and calculate it. Review is going to happen just as a part of that process. And a human's only going to get pulled in when actual real judgment is needed. So you'll sign off, the return is going to get delivered to the client, and then with their consent, it's just going to get filed. In this world, the preparer who used to spend hours on that return is going to spend 5 minutes. The reviewer who used to be a bottleneck is now the decision maker. And I think across the board, your team is going to be doing higher value work. Your firm is just going to have so much more capacity to deliver on those world-class services that your clients depend on. So that is the world that we are building towards. So what is phase 2? Phase 2 is our next step towards that world. So we've been spending a lot of time talking to firms about what is standing between them and this new AI native way of working. And two walls have come up over and over again. First is concerns about data security. And then secondly is the pain of running a parallel tax process for returns that can't be handled natively through Aiwyn's tax engine. So what we're going to do in phase 2, we're going to tear down both of those walls. So for security, we're building what we call a walled garden, which is basically a legally and technically secure environment for your client data that's not going to contribute to any sort of model training. So it's how you're going to be able to feel confident using AI for even your most sensitive information. And with that, Aiwyn Tax will actually be able to automatically process the return from prep all the way through deliver and file, basically like you just saw in the previous demo. And then for the two process problem, Aiwyn Tax in phase 2 is going to be interoperable with your legacy systems. So returns that might require your legacy calculation engines or really thorough human oversight, those are going to flow seamlessly to your legacy tools, along with statuses and information that are going to flow to where you're keeping track of work. So that means you don't have to rip and replace anything to start getting value out of this. You can move and integrate at your own pace and on your own terms, and your existing investments and processes are going to keep working alongside of ours. At the same time that that's all happening, we're going to be rapidly expanding our coverage. Ultimately, we're going to cover all tax situations natively in our engine. So that's phase 2. And I think, as Pat mentioned, that's really just the beginning of where we think we're going to go with this. So if you're interested with partnering with this on this, please reach out to me directly. My email is shared here in the slide. I'm hoping for and expecting a deluge of emails. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback. And then if you're up for it, be a design partner with us as we work to bring this vision to life.
Gang, I told Trent, I'm going to put your email on the slide, and there's a chance you're going to get 40 emails coming out of this webinar. So that's the over under, gang. Let's try to get it above 40. So Trent, thank you. This is really, really exciting for us, for everyone in the profession. And I think the excitement is kind of tied to what I expected to be some appropriately pragmatic questions, that Trent spoke to, the e-filing, the security layer, how do we insulate kind of client data? All of this is what we are saying to ourselves. We want you all to tell us what are the priorities, help us shape this as we pragmatize this in phase two. We consciously saw phase one as there's something here. We want to be first through the wall on behalf of firms to do the exploring, to figure out, hey, are people going to be excited about us exposing this in Claude? And the short answer is yes, evidence being a lot of the questions that are still coming in. Now it gets to the questions of, okay, how do we balance all these necessarily kind of security-minded interests in a production environment? And that's what we're sprinting towards with phase two. Nothing would make me happier than if I could tell you, hey, this phase two thing is something you could buy tomorrow, or that's definitely gonna be ready for extension season. Let me be clear. There's not yet a timeline on phase two, in part because we're still having firms tell us what the requirements would be to use something like Claude in this kind of forked workflow at scale. And this is consistent with how we've always done things at Aiwyn. We kind of lead with concept, with idea that responds to pain. We get more feedback. We build another iteration, and we prioritize that based on how many firms tell us they need it. And of course, we're doing that in balance with all the other things we're building for you all that you told us you needed. So this is a roundabout way of saying, keep giving us feedback. We consciously talk about this Aiwyn customer community as being community-led. Reach out to Trent, give us your thoughts. Meanwhile, what will happen, we're going to keep growing the engine coverage. Right now, you hear us talk about, hey, we're doing simple 1040s. There's more to come. We're going to keep working with the AI labs, like the Anthropics of the world, as we keep kind of pioneering the frontier of AI tax and what the future looks like. And in parallel to that, it's not like, Malcolm and Tanner are going to stop building cool stuff in the unified client portal. We're going to keep innovating and growing capabilities and payments. I got the team in the lab doing a lot with practice as well. We are, I think, as I mentioned on a previous call, we're in kind of the first inning of a baseball game that's going to go into extra innings and just keep on going. This is the exciting kind of entry point. We want you all to help us kind of shape the game as we go. So I think, Tanner, keep me honest. We're right on time. We can probably open it up for questions. And this is always the fun part. We got some more coming in through the chat. Let me see. Okay, so Trent, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. We got a question about,
Sure.
well, can we clarify a little bit simple 1040? And I know there's going to be some variance on the margins there, but can you just give a little bit of color to what is our engine doing now, the coverage to come later? Anything you can share there would, I think, be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. When we talk about simple 1040, we're talking about something that something like 80% of the population would file today, right? So it's W-2s, it's 1099s, things of that nature. Now, where are we going? Eventually, we want to cover every tax situation, right? And I would love to be able to give you an exact timeline of how fast we get there. I can tell you that we're building as much as AI has accelerated every other part of the business, it's also rapidly accelerated our ability to build additional coverage. And it's a top priority for the engine. So we're building as fast as we can. And I think as we get closer to next season and have a little bit more detail on where we're going to land, we can start to share that out. But we do want to cover every single tax situation eventually.
So we have another question, fantastic one, that speaks to kind of long-term strategic intent. So you're not replacing CCH or Thomson Reuters, but connecting with them. Can you please clarify? The answer is yes, and just like we do across, I think the totality of the Aiwyn portfolio, practice management. We have firms that have turned off their incumbent PM systems and they're living entirely in Aiwyn. Just like we still have firms that are living in another non-Aiwyn practice management system and use us for engagement letters and payments. We're taking a similar approach to tax. We're building kind of coverage and capabilities so that we're giving firms the option to make that choice. At the same time, as we talked about, we have kind of API level kind of contracted relationships with other companies that do something similar. So we've taken the tack from day one. And it's funny, I was in a board meeting recently talking to some of our early investors. Our early investor memo said we're going to be an open platform. And that means we're going to integrate. We're also going to compete. And we think that's going to have a rising tides benefit to all. And that's the tack we're taking. So as we build coverage, we're going to be doing that transparently, letting you know what we can and can't do. And it's going to be to the firm's discretion what they feel like they can retire, what they can integrate. And we're going to obviously help you along that journey. So our ambitions have not been abated. We still see ourselves being kind of a comprehensive solution suite for firms. We are getting a lot of good questions. And we are, sorry, and to clarify, so this is focused on 1040s. We still have a focus on 990s as we think about how best to kind of bring that forward. Trent's going to figure out kind of the fun, hairy details for all that. But that's kind of, again, in response to market, we're kind of going where folks are telling us they have the greatest interest and need. Oh, good question coming in from Brian. Yes, I'm doing a session at BDO Evolve. I will be touching on this briefly. It won't be going into this level of detail, but Brian, tell your partners to grab me afterwards. I'll happily sidebar and maybe show them some of these slides and talk through some of this. So yeah, and that goes for anybody. Myself, Tanner, you'll be at BDO Evolve as well. We can have plenty of sidebars there. And sorry, I should stop sharing my screen. We can keep opening it up. So gang, any other questions? Tanner, I hear myself talking. I'll let you take the next couple. What do you see that would
Yeah.
help the group?
Greg, Trent, this is a good one. Came in from Greg just now around how Cowork released the ability to use MS Foundry to launch and connect. And really just wondering what our vision is on working with Cowork versus Claude Chat versus other models, foundation models out there. Maybe you can speak to how we're approaching it and really the conversations we're in right now.
Yeah, definitely. So we want to be sort of model agnostic. We're working directly with all the labs right now, and Claude just so happened to be the first one that we went and put this out with. But we want to kind of like Pat said, we want to be where you're working, and so however you're working with AI, we want to be able to be the engine that you can use as a part of that workflow. So I would say yes to all the things that you said, and also to any other AI model or tool that you are interested in working with.
Fantastic. Another question coming in asking really what source, and Malcolm, this may be you and Trent, what source documents can the tax connector handle and how will it expand in phase 2? Do you guys want to talk about how we're thinking about integration and ingestion of source documentation and documents?
Sure, I can take that to start with the connector. So the connector you saw, the connector you saw today, that handles what we're, our simple 1040 documents. So think things like W-2s, 1099s, doesn't handle K-1s today. I know that's something that folks have a lot of interest today in. And also the connector that's live out today that you can use is not gonna file anything as well. By the way, it's as Pat was saying, an exploratory kind of proof of concept that we put out there. But eventually, we will be able to process all the documents that are coming in, and especially all the documents that are relevant for the calculations and return preparation that we're going to be handling. Malcolm, not sure if you have anything you want to add there.
No, I was just going to say that's about the same on our side as well. As we continue to collaborate, we're building out our AI processing engines so that they can handle more and more complexity. So as far as the request side of things, when we talked about when files are uploaded to requests, those get AI ingested and then uploaded to the different items. That same process is similar to what Trent is talking to as well.
Trent, there's a great question just came in from Donald that, of course, correct me if I'm off base, but I think we're lockstep on this, and I'm really excited to hear this question. Will there be capabilities to hop into the 1040 finished product and make any adjustments? How will judgment calls be handled? Donald, I think I'll answer that by saying, email Trent and tell him exactly how you think this should go. And I mean that sincerely. That is the key question for us is how much do professionals like yourselves want these kind of 1040s to be easy buttoned and automated? How much do you want to be in the loop, review screens, etc.? We're not going to lead with any core assumptions because we can technically enable, I think, a range of use cases. But as we think about balancing, of course, all the interest, the professional obligations and the insistence on kind of clean, perfect returns, workflow scale, et cetera, I would welcome your feedback to Trent as we think about the very step-by-step needs there. That was really our purpose, and kind of building out in the open like we're doing here is to trigger these questions that can inform how we can kind of meet your needs. So please do reach out to Trent.
Yeah, there's another question similar to this in terms of judgment. And the question came in from Colin around what's to stop clients from using tools like this on their own. Um, I would say, and chime in, Pat, Trent, others, nothing. We really do see that the Claudes of the world are going to get to a point where very simple tax situations will likely be able to be handled next year, except for the need for judgment, the need for a professional, the need for things like e-filing. And Zach, I saw your question there around what happens with e-filing in this scenario. We haven't exposed e-filing yet on the engine that we've put out, but that is capabilities that we have. And we're expanding coverage kind of first before we say, hey, here's how you can e-file alongside the workflow expansion that we were just talking about here. But great questions. Trent, I don't know if you want to answer or give any more thoughts on the judgment component, the profession versus the very simple, really competing with TurboTax and H&R Block.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way we see this is a lot of the you could call it judgment, but things that didn't require expertise, those are going to go away. So the transferring data from one place to another, making sure that something was typed in the right way from one software to the other software and tying those together. I think we're going to learn to trust the models as they get more and more capable and as they demonstrate more and more value, that they're going to be able to handle that type of stuff. And then where I think that what that does is it just frees up a lot of time to actually focus on the true expert advice that folks are paying y'all for anyway, to be that guided partner, and make the really expert decisions on the return.
Bingo. Gang, I think a lot of the questions we're starting to see are great questions that I hope you can bring to us again offline in the discussions with Trent. And then also several of them we're going to be talking about in some of our upcoming forums. So the next big things as we wrap up today, kind of the mark your calendar call to action. On June 16th, we are having our Aiwyn Ahead virtual state of the company webinar. This is where we go very, very deep. There will be comprehensive 2026 product roadmap reviews, live demos of all the new features, security enhancements. It's kind of like this forum, expanded. We're going to do a lot of kind of case study, success story focus, and there will be some interactive Q&A, not just with the Trents and the Malcolms of the world, but all the other product leaders at our company that many of you have come to know and love. The other key thing to flag, and many of you have started to sign up, awesome, more the merrier. November 2nd to the 4th, the crown jewel of the Aiwyn customer community event calendar unlock. Again, November 2nd to the 4th in Las Vegas. Sign up, spread the word, tell your friends. It's going to be like every year. Every year at Unlock gets better and better. This will be our best one ever. And the parting shot, gang, and QR code this, you can sign up for our newsletter. Definitely recommend you do that because we're going to start to share increasingly more and more data about not just releases related to tax, but all of our products here in the newsletter alongside these webinars. It's the best way to stay in the loop as to what's going on at Aiwyn, see case studies, etc. This is, I think, a perfect way to kind of keep tabs on all the fun decision making you can do around technology as we get into the year ahead. Again, just to reiterate, a lot of the Aiwyn folks will be at the BDO Evolve conference. Of course, we'll be at AICPA Engage. Reach out to Trent. You saw his email earlier, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on tax. But Tanner, Trent, Malcolm, any parting shots before we let folks go back to their day?
I'll just say, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
I was just saying, go for it, Trent.
Yeah, we're both so eager to talk. I'll just say, I'm already getting a bunch of emails, and that makes me really excited. So I truly do mean it. Please reach out to me. We're going to use your feedback and guidance to help shape the direction of what we do here, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks all.
Same. I'll just echo that. Excited to partner with you all and continue building out cool stuff. So.
Thanks, Malcolm. Thanks, Trent. Tanner, I'll save you and I from stopping over each other. I'll wrap us up. Gang, thank you as always. We'll see you in June at Aiwyn Ahead. Thanks so much.